these Infosys numbers and guidance a bit more. Moshe Katri is also with us. Moshe, good morning. Your first thoughts on the Infosys numbers, the guidance, and the market reaction?
So it was supposed to be a muted quarter across the board. Not huge surprises. They tightened the range, which is, I think, was expected. On top of that, revenues were a bit soft. The two big surprises were margins. That's number one. And the other thing that I thought was surprising, actually it's a positive, is that, again, financial services did better than the rest of the business in constant currency. And this is despite the RBS loss. So this is the only vertical that in constant currency was up sequentially. And that kind of goes back to what TCS had to say this morning about the financial services vertical. So net, not a huge surprise. As you said, some of these names rallied into the print. And I think we're kind of sitting here waiting to get a better feel on what management has to say about the outlook, the budgets, directionally where we're going to go into fiscal year 2018 or calendar year 2017, if you will.
Okay. Moshe, good evening. What will you anticipate from the United States for both these stocks? Would you worry about margins getting trimmed because of probably higher visa charges or wanting to keep hire more talent locally? Or do you think that that will be countered by probably deregulation of banks and therefore more business from them?
So you have a bunch of different things that you're talking about. You have the potential pending regulations. So we're talking about H-1B visa regulations, the border tax bill. That's another thing that people talk about. And then finally, you're also talking about what happens to budgets, especially on the financial services vertical side of the business. So let's start with the last topic. Our survey that was released recently suggested that we will see an uptick in spending in financial services in calendar year 2017. And this is the first time we're seeing any sort of uptick in this vertical in about 3 years. So that will be a positive. And that, again, that goes back to TCS's commentary this morning about spending by banks. And again, we'll yet to hear what INFI has to say about that. Our kind of belief or our thoughts about the pending regulation, there'll be something going on with this new administration. But we are assuming that you will see visa application fees continue to go up. You will probably continue to see the minimum wage for H-1B visa employees going up as well. Net, we continue to believe that these are all trends or metrics that will be absorbed and manageable for the space.
Oh yes, this is something that you had mentioned to us earlier, that you're not too worried about these issues with respect to Trump. But there is, in this whole puzzle, there's a wild card, right? What happened yesterday with Chandra moving out and new people at the helm of TCS. How do you see all of this play out? And do you think the premium that TCS enjoys over Infosys could be eroded over the near term?
I think it's all about top-line growth. If TCS delivers this year, and I'm talking about fiscal year 2018, I think, the way I see it, IT services as a sector has extremely negative sentiment. Valuations are relatively very reasonable. They kind of depress on a relative basis. And I think if we're going to see an uptick in spending in financial services this year, I think we're going to do well this year.
So between Infosys and TCS, what would you prefer?
We don't cover TCS, and we have a neutral rating on Infosys. We recently upgraded our ratings on the companies that have the largest financial services exposure, and that includes Cognizant Technology Solutions.
All right. Moshe, thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts after that big number, or after the two big numbers